short, the message to and from Disney's top management was clear. Increase Disney Plus subscribers, never mind your contractual promises, and you will be rewarded. Woo! Welcome to Wine and Chill, your home for all things legal shenanigans. I'm Stephanie, your friendly neighborhood lawyer. Well, if you're new here, not your lawyer. Which brings me quickly to our disclaimer. By watching this video, you understand and acknowledge that this video is solely for entertainment purposes only, and you agree that you've read the full disclaimer down below in the description box. We are doing a breach of contract case, which we've done multiple times before. If you're new, I used to work in entertainment, used to be an entertainment lawyer. I'm now a tech lawyer. The majority of my job is negotiating contracts. Today, we are going to talk about ScarJo and Disney. Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney for allegedly interfering with her Marvel contract. So this is going to be a little bit different. If you are not fully indoctrinated into the MCU, that is the Marvel universe, I will give you a quick recap as I have been indoctrinated by way of my very happy blurred boyfriend. Scarlett Johansson, ScarJo. ScarJo plays Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, in the Marvel universe. She started in, I believe it was Iron Man 1 or 2. Y'all let me know in the comments. I think it's Iron Man 2. Over a decade ago, 10 years ago, and after 10 years and appearing in multiple Marvel films, aka Disney films, because Disney owns Marvel, she finally got her own premiere film, Black Widow, which released a few weeks ago. Due to the panorama, the film was pushed back a few times. It was actually supposed to be released in 2019, which insert and enter our issue. At the time of release for Black Widow, Disney now has Disney Plus. Also, movie theaters now are mostly open in the US. However, the viewership is a little bit low. Let's talk about these claims. The claims in this case are specifically intentional interference with contractual relations and inducing breach of contract. So these claims are when a third party steps in and meddles in two other parties' contracts. So the third party here is going to be Disney, and the two parties that have privity of contract that are actually in a contractual relationship are Marvel and Disney. These are the elements for inducing breach of contract. So think about these as we go through the case. One, that there was a contract between the plaintiff and the third party. So that's going to be ScarJo and Marvel. The defendant knew of the contract. So did Disney know that Marvel and Scarlett Johansson have a contract? That defendant's conduct prevented performance or made the performance more expensive or difficult. Okay, that Disney intended to disrupt the performance of this contract or knew that disruption or performance was certain or substantially certain to occur. That Scarlett Johansson was harmed, and lastly, Disney's conduct was a substantial factor in causing Scarlett Johansson's harm. Okay, so that's what we're looking for as we go through this case. To note, Scarlett Johansson is not suing Marvel. She's suing Disney, and Disney is Marvel's parent company. As usual, I will link the case down below. Deadline actually has the case as well, so you can read it if you'd like. And then I'll scoot over a little bit and show what we're going over right here on the screen. Paragraph 1. Over the past decade, Scarlett Johansson's work has generated billions of dollars for Marvel Studios, and by extension, its parent company, Disney. In recognition of and reliance on this impressive track record, Marvel and Ms. Johansson agreed that her compensation for starring in the latest motion picture addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, Black Widow, the picture, would be based largely on box office receipts generated by the picture. Okay, to maximize these receipts and thereby protect her financial interests, Ms. Johansson extracted a promise from Marvel that the release of the picture would be a theatrical release. We're going to get into what exactly a theatrical release is. And Ms. Johansson, Disney, Marvel, and most everyone else in Hollywood knows a theatrical release is a release that is exclusive to movie theaters. Okay, Disney was well aware of this promise, but nonetheless directed Marvel to violate its pledge and instead release the picture on the Disney Plus streaming service the very same day it was released in the movie theater. So that is a lovely little synopsis of what the heck this lawsuit is about. Very good. Not spicy, but to the point. It can work. Let's talk about theatrical releases and how this works. Actors, actresses these days like to get paid on box office receipts. So that way it's kind of evergreen. So that way you're getting more. You can basically benefit if the movie does well. If the movie doesn't do well, then you don't benefit as much. It's basically reciprocal. It's pretty much a little bit more fair. How this works is movie theaters, having worked in a movie theater way back when I was in high school, movie theaters make money off those expensive, overpriced $20 popcorn. Yes. Okay, maybe it's not $20, but it's a lot. The large might be $20. The ticket sales go to the studios. Generally speaking, these actresses will negotiate like, okay, I'm going to get X amount of percentage points off of the overall gross sales. Not after tax, not after you collect how much this took, gross sales. This is what I'm getting. Okay. If this goes any further, we are going to likely see her agreement. They have not attached that as an exhibit because it's highly confidential. But if Disney doesn't back down from this lawsuit during discovery, she's going to have to attach her contract, which would be very interesting to see an actual A-list movie star. What does their film contract look like? Because a lot of people are getting screwed. Paragraph 5 also details Marvel and ScarJo entered into their agreement on May 9th, 2017 in a series of amendments. At issue in this lawsuit is the portion of that agreement that guaranteed her a share of box office receipts, meaning receipts from movie theater ticket sales. To protect her financial interest in these box office receipts, Ms. Johansson obtained from Marvel a valuable contractual promise that the release of the picture would be a wide theatrical release. So again, same thing. Wide theatrical release is usually 90 to 120 days solely in the movie theater. As like pre-pandemic, that's what people are used to. Okay, you go to the movie theater, you watch it a few times, and then eventually it will get released Netflix, Hulu, or movies on Hulu. I mean, I guess kind of. Netflix, not Blockbuster. So paragraph 24 then gets into a little bit more about the theatrical release. These promises concerning the picture's release, including the language requiring a wide theatrical release, set forth on the very first page of the agreement and in the same paragraph that establishes Ms. Johansson's role and services were material and essential to the agreement. So again, they never attached the agreement. It would have been easier to assess this lawsuit if the agreement is attached. But you know what would happen if they just willy-nilly pull out Scarlett Johansson, whose net worth is estimated at $175 million, top A-list actress? It probably would ruffle feathers of people being like, am I getting underpaid? Am I getting overpaid? What's happening? What is going to happen is they're going to try to push this lawsuit along as far as they can without attaching the agreement. Because once you see somebody's rates, it will shake up all of Hollywood to be like, oh, am I getting paid fair? There's a giant pay equity gap in Hollywood. It's going to be interesting to see. I hope we get to see the agreement. In addition to certain fixed compensation, Ms. Johansson was to receive deferred compensation and bonuses directly tied to the amount of worldwide box office receipts of the picture. The greater the worldwide box office, the more Ms. Johansson stands to earn. We're going to get exactly into some of these bonuses that Scarlett is alleging, like, hey, you owe me money and you're being funny. In tandem, remember this movie was announced, I remember when this was announced, was in 2019 when they announced this movie, and then, a couple months later in 2020, the world decided to shut down. In paragraph 6, which I'm not going to read the whole thing, in November 2019, approximately 6 months after the agreement was entered into between Marvel and Scarlett Johansson, Disney launched Disney Plus, its very own flagship subscription video on-demand service. Leading up to this launch, the subscription video on demand market was crowded. Amazon, Hulu, Apple TV, all competing for subscribers. Think back to when this happened. When Disney Plus first announced and was launched, most adults, so like my age, a lot of people on there now watching Disney Plus are adults. But before they released what type of content was on there, people were like, oh, well, that's cute, but I already pay Netflix. Most likely you might pay Netflix and Hulu already. Game of Thrones was hot and popping, so you're also paying HBO. Most people were not thinking like, oh, Disney, like, yeah, I love Dumbo, and yes, it's my favorite movie, but am I gonna give you $7 just to watch old Disney movies and be nostalgic? I don't know. And that is until Disney then announced as well, hey, Disney Plus is going to be the home of the MCU. We are going to do Disney and Marvel specific series solely to release on Disney Plus. Y'all should really watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Excellent, excellent. Loki, excellent. WandaVision, excellent. It's great. It's great high production value content on Disney Plus. So yes, Disney Plus is doing well. We, the older millennials, are watching Disney Plus. I am watching Disney Plus. When Disney Plus was announced, Scarlett Johansson and her team ensured to speak to Disney like, hey, I just want to make sure, the contract says wide theatrical release. I get it, you have this new service, but that has nothing to do with me. My contract says wide theatrical release, which they then roped in Marvel's chief counsel. Paragraph 28, Ms. Johansson's representatives reached out to Marvel to confirm that the launch of Disney Plus would not impact the exclusive wide theatrical release that Ms. Johansson bargained for in the agreement. Dave Galluzzi, Marvel's chief counsel, responded on March 20th, 2019. Further to our conversation today, it is 100% our plan to do a typical wide release of Black Widow. We have very high expectations for the film and are very excited to try do for Black Widow what we've done with Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel did very well. We totally understand that Scarlett's willingness to do the film and her whole deal is based on the premise that the film would be widely theatrically released like our other pictures. We understand that should the plan change, we would need to discuss this with you and come to an understanding as the deal is based on a series of very large box office bonuses. Well, that's not what happened, as we all know. In March 2021, nearly 2 years later, Black Widow was released in both the movie theater during the panorama, as well as on Disney Plus. Disney Plus, if you paid $30, if you pay $30 right now, you too can go watch Black Widow. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know that ScarJo allegedly was getting screwed, and yes, we watched it in the house. Because it was just, to be honest, it was more convenient to watch in the house versus going outside. $30. It costs, in New York, like $15 for a movie theater ticket. 5 of our family watched it. Like, that's way more cost effective than us going to the movie theater. So, of course. Which is going to prove Scarlett Johansson and their attorney's point. So paragraph 8, we're going to skip a little bit. We're going to go to the middle of the paragraph. On information and belief, this was the direct result of Disney directing Marvel to ignore Ms. Johansson's agreement and are overruling Marvel's wishes to comply with it. In the marketing campaign that followed, Disney frequently highlighted the picture's upcoming availability on Disney Plus, usually side by side with Ms. Johansson's image. Not y'all getting promo out this woman. Throughout this process, Ms. Johansson, through her representatives, attempted to negotiate with Marvel to reach the aforementioned alternative understanding that Marvel's chief counsel had promised under these circumstances. All right, so speaking of that free promo, page 44. Adding insult to injury, Ms. Johansson has spent the last several months fulfilling her own obligation under the agreement to promote the picture, and therefore by association its release on Disney Plus. In other words, Disney has enjoyed the benefit of having one of Hollywood's top actresses promote its wholly owned subscription service at no additional cost to Disney. And with the intended effect of taking money out of the actress's own pocket. The triflingness of this entire lawsuit is wow. Can you imagine? She's promoting a service that essentially, by that service succeeding over her box office receipts, she is getting less money. And she's also not getting paid, according to this, for the promotion. Now remember, in lawsuits, everything is an allegation, so Disney most likely, sometime during this week, is going to send an actual formal response and clapback, not their little media fodder that they released the other day. Paragraph 9 and 10, basically, I'll put it here, we're not going to read through it. Disney allegedly grossed $60 million solely, so far, on Disney Plus. I mean, $30 a pop, that sounds about right. I'm going to read like a quick clip from the lawsuit, quoted a few media outlets and what the media outlets were reporting. Veteran distribution executives say it's clear the availability of the movie on Disney Plus cannibalized the box office, noting that an entire household might have gone to see the movie in the theater but instead pay $30 to watch it together at home. Yes, I am that household. That's what we did, child. Outside is very expensive right now. And according to this lawsuit, Disney's stock price allegedly jumped 4% during this. The lawsuit started off very, I'm just going to tell you the facts, but then brought in the pettiness as well. So paragraph 13, Scarlett Johansson's team decided that it was important for us, the regular people of America and the world, to know that the Disney executives are making a coin, a large coin, partially because of Disney Plus. So, paragraph 13, Disney's financial disclosures make clear that the very Disney executives who orchestrated this strategy will personally benefit from their and Disney's misconduct. In fiscal year 2021, Disney's chief executive officer, Robert Chapek, was awarded equity grants totaling 3.8 times his $2.5 million base salary. The primary justification for that award, according to Disney's compensation committee, as detailed in the company's 2021 annual report, Disney is a publicly traded company. All of their annual reports are public. was that Mr. Chapek worked to quickly program new offerings on our direct-to-consumer and linear channels and launch direct-to-consumer services in several key markets. Robert Iger, Mr. Chapek's predecessor, also received the overwhelming majority of his compensation, just over $16.5 million. In the form of stock grants. Wow. Which means they will continue to grow. The reason for his mammoth award, according to the same annual report, was that he successfully launched Disney Plus and drove unprecedented subscriber growth in the first year. In short, the message to and from Disney's top management was clear. Increase Disney Plus subscribers, never mind your contractual promises, and you will be rewarded. Woo! Kudos to the lawyer, taking aim and not missing. So, part of the two claims is whether Disney did all of this on purpose. So how are they going to prove that? They're basically going to have to rope in, and by they, Scarlett Johansson's team is going to have to rope in testimony from the Marvel executives, from Marvel's team, to say, hey, did they pressure you to do this, or did you do this? Because if you, Marvel, did this, we're going to sue you too, essentially. I think that would be the strategy. It seems from reading the entire thing that Scarlett Johansson's team has no intention as of now to sue Marvel. It seems like they're trying to keep that relationship intact, which makes sense. And bring in Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is the president of Marvel. If you are an MCU fan, you know who Kevin Feige is. Kevin Feige was not happy about any of this. The Hollywood Reporter reported, Feige is not prone to corporate showdowns or shouting matches, but I'm told he's angry and embarrassed. Baloney's newsletter read in part. Baloney from the Hollywood Reporter, he lobbied Disney against the day and date plan for Black Widow, preferring the big screen exclusivity and not wanting to upset his talent, aka ScarJo. And then when the shit hit the fan, the movie started tanking and Johansson's team threatened litigation. He wanted Disney to make this right for her. So when asked about this, Feige straight up pointed the finger and was like, you know what, it's y'all. I'm trying to do the right thing and y'all are over here strong-arming me. Paragraph 32. When asked by an industry publication in January 2001 if the picture would stick to a theatrical release or go to Disney Plus, Marvel's president Kevin Feige was non-committal. But he admitted the parent company Disney, not Marvel, was calling the shots when it came to Marvel studio content. Remember, interfering, this is how you show interference, was calling the shots when it came to Marvel Studios content on Disney Plus and in theaters, and that the intent was for the MCU's storytelling to continue to unfold both in theaters and on Disney's flagship streaming platform, stating, all I can tell you is that for the past 3 years since Bob Iger brought me into his office and talked about a streaming platform that would become Disney Plus and asked us to start working on the programs for it, our long lead plan was to have the MCU and the storytelling woven between weekly episodic big swings on Disney Plus and into the featured big swings in theaters. WandaVision, Loki, The Falcon, and The Winter Soldier are all supposed to lead into very large cinematic releases in theaters. So, paragraph 33 to 34, speaking about the picture on a February 11th, 2021 earnings call, Mr. Iger's successor, Bob Chapek, that's the current president CEO of Disney, stated that we are still intending it to be a theatrical release. In a February 12th article, Variety reported that Marvel's Mr. Feige was opposed to a hybrid rollout, aka Disney Plus and a movie theater, but that the powers that be from Disney could still convince Feige to change his mind or overrule it completely. Sounds like meddling. Paragraph 34, March 17, 2021, Disney's Mr. Chapek cleared up any remaining doubt that it was Disney, not Marvel, calling the shots, telling Bloomberg Television, and telling on himself. We'll make the call probably at the last minute in terms of how these films come to market, whether it's Black Widow or any other title. We'll be watching the call carefully and make the call when we have to. Days later, on March 23, 2021, Disney announced that instead of having a traditional exclusive release to maximize worldwide box office receipts, the picture would get a day and date release on July 9th, 2021 and be released simultaneously. One thing to also point out, there are other Marvel MCU movies that are coming out that their dates have been pushed back. So for example, Free Guy, and one of the arguments was, you've already pushed back Black Widow 2 years. Why wouldn't y'all just wait till August, just push it back a couple months? Like when people are fully all the way outside. What was the purpose? So paragraph 37 basically was, what was the reason? I would like to know. The lawyer tabled all of their spiciness towards the end of the lawsuit, which I appreciate. It's there. A sprinkling of spice. Paragraph 37. Why would Disney forego hundreds of millions of dollars in box office receipts by releasing the picture in theaters at a time when it knew the theatrical market was weak, rather than waiting a few months for the market to recover? On information and belief, the decision to do so was made at least in part because Disney saw the opportunity to promote its flagship subscription service using the picture, Black Widow, and Miss Johansson, thereby attracting new paying monthly subscribers. So basically, the way that Disney Plus and their movie release works, if you want to watch the movie as many times as you want, you have to pay the $30 and be a Disney Plus subscriber. It's giving tactics. It's giving strategy. It's giving, oh, this is not an accident. Interfering with the agreement and inducing Marvel to breach it, Disney not only increased the value of Disney Plus, but it intentionally saved Marvel and thereby itself, because Disney owns Marvel, what Marvel itself referred to as very large box office bonuses that otherwise would have been obligated to pay Miss Johansson. Because remember, $60 million was made on Disney Plus alone. If that $60 million, which would have been higher, to be honest, like if I'm telling you it's me, my family, 5 of us watching it, we paid $30. We're going to the movie theater, that's $60 in tickets, at least. Y'all know math is not my ministry. That number is probably higher. Anyways, so let's round it up a little bit. Say $70 million should have went towards box office receipts at least. Well, ScarJo's bonus is based on how many butts are sitting in the seats in the movie theater. So since there are less booties in the seats, she's not getting her bonuses. Or she's getting less of her bonuses. So to all this, Disney put out this sad little statement, child. So the mouse decided to say in response to this lawsuit, there is no merit whatsoever to this filing. That's on par. That's what they always say. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. But what does the panorama have to do with you meddling with this woman's contract? Their response is giving callous, tone-deaf, and foolish. They then went on to say she's made $20 million. Not her waiting 10 years to get a feature film in the MCU and Disney being like, just relax, be grateful. From Robert Daniels on Twitter, which I thought summed it up great. To not understand the optics of jerking around the most prominent woman attached to this very male-heavy universe, literally outside of Captain Marvel, the MCU is just filled with men. Is men getting movies. Hello, where is the Storm movie? Where is it? Where? And before y'all say, wait, X-Men is separate. Yes, but Disney owns them. Where is my Storm movie I've been waiting for my whole life? Where is it? Back to the topic at hand. To not understand the optics of jerking around the most prominent woman attached to this very male-heavy universe, ScarJo, who had to wait a decade worth of being a team player before she got her own movie, is some A-level buffoonery. Come on, Robert Daniels with the word. It's wild. It's giving insensitive. It's giving foolishness. It's giving, this is actually apparently allegedly leading Emma Stone, who was the star of Cruella, which was also subject to a day-and-date release on Disney Plus and the movie theaters, to think about suing Disney. So there are reports now that Emma Stone is weighing her options. And I think we're going to have a lot more actresses and actors come out and say like, hey, this is not right. This is not what we agreed. It's not what you promised me. Y'all are over here making billions on billions of dollars. Like, run me my coin. Run me my coin for my work. So this is going to be very interesting to see. The other part of this is what it's going to turn into, which Scarlett's team alluded to and what they had tried to do when Disney said, oh, hey, we're going to do day and date. It seems that Scarlett Johansson's team then tried to get an alternative contract, which was like, okay, if you're doing that, then what's my percentage point on streaming? Which makes sense. So 2 things are going to happen. Either they're going to pay her out, which, to be honest, I think Disney's going to lose this, especially if they pull up the agreement. The agreement is eventually going to have to be entered into evidence. And then we're going to start to get the recording of calls. We're going to start to get the emails, the dirt, the mess. You're going to see talent now come out and say like, okay, y'all want your streaming service? That's fine. You own the streaming service. So I want my percentage points off of this. X amount of streams equals X amount of money. They're going to have to figure out how the hybrid model works, but you can't just be getting free publicity from somebody for something they didn't sign up for. That to me was one of the most wild points. Like, you have this woman out here promoting your wholly owned subscription service, because it's not just about the $30 people paid for the movie. It's the $30 plus the $8 people pay every month. So stay tuned. We'll see. Once Disney responds, we will cover Disney's response, which they're going to deny everything, but I'm curious to see, like, what are their set of facts? Because again, complaints are always allegations, but some of the allegations, sometimes people just pull up the receipts. So I'm very curious to see if we're going to get to see ScarJo's actual contract with Marvel. I want to say thank you to all of my patrons, particularly Sam, Jonathan, and Judy. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know, who do we think is winning, the mouse or the reformed assassin?